Hi, my name is Chris Jensen, and I'm trying to figure out how to record myself so I can put this on the internet. I was watching David Alexander's channel, and I've seen a lot of people on there bear their testimonies, and I found them all inspiring, but I found two especially inspiring. One was by Brother Hardesty, who I actually know, and one was by a young guy named Latter-day Saint Noah. And if I remember correctly, he's 15 years old and did a good job. So for somebody as young as him to do that is pretty interesting and brave. So I thought I'd give it a try. I found the church originally when I was 12 years old. At least that's when I was introduced to it. I had a neighbor that lived near me when I moved to a new place. 2 houses down, there was a neighbor. I had a dog that would often run away to the neighbor's house, and I'd have to go there and get him. So I got to know that neighbor, who was an elderly couple. Uh, and they were nice people. And eventually the husband died, and I began doing like helpful things for the woman who lived there. Like, I remember washing the outside of her house, and sometimes housework, things like that, because she, just continued to get older. Eventually she moved into an assisted living facility or something like that. And I would go over there and, vacuum and do things like that. And she would feed me. It was actually kind of difficult because she was really demanding on what she wanted from her house cleaning, more than I would ever have done for myself. She was always asking me to investigate her church, which I probably learned was the Mormon Church, which is actually the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I kept telling her that I would eventually, and I meant it, but I don't think I was particularly inspired to do anything immediately. And then this went on for about 6 years. When I was 18, she passed away, and I got a call from her daughter saying that her mother had passed away, and she asked the mother if I would be a pallbearer at her funeral. So I said, okay, of course. And it was me and a whole legion of 80-year-old people and a few other people who knew her. And I did the pallbearing thing. And after the funeral, there's always that after party where people get together and eat and I guess reminisce. And I remembered that I had told her that I would look into or investigate her church. So I wanted to keep my promise to her. She was a nice woman. I saw someone at the party that I recognized from her house, who I now realize was probably her home teacher. So I went over to him, introduced myself, told him what I was doing, and he happened to be a 70, which was a priesthood office at that time, and they were largely missionaries. So he had a bunch of pamphlets with him and stuff, and I don't know, we looked at them, and he probably gave me a few, and, we made an appointment to speak again. So I went to his house probably a couple of days later and spoke to him after reading the pamphlets. At this time, I was still just investigating the church because I told the lady that I would investigate the church. But eventually, it became interesting to me and seemed to make sense and like something I should learn more about. Now, during this time that I was studying with this brother, he would continually ask me, if I would like to meet the missionaries because they could tell me about this much better than he could. And I kept saying no because I really wasn't that interested. I was just, fulfilling my promise. But anyhow, so eventually I said yes because I was getting more interested. So I met them. My first two were an elder from Las Vegas and an elder from California. They were both really big. The elder from Las Vegas was 6'5", and the other guy was 6'4". And he was Elder Plant, and he went home like 2 weeks into my study, or maybe less, because he was just about done with his mission. The other elder was Elder Tullis, and the new missionary who came in was Elder Steers, and he was 6 feet tall and very strong. And I thought to myself, holy cows, in the East here, we're a generation of midgets or something. But eventually I finally did meet some missionaries that were more normal sized. Anyhow, I studied with them and was very interested. And I went through the whole thing in 6 weeks before I joined the church. Now, my mother at that time, I was 18 and still living at home. Well, first of all, she thought it was nice that I was fulfilling my promise to this woman who was our neighbor, who was an nice lady that my mother also had met. Then, when I said to her one day, this is pretty interesting. You might want to look into this yourself. Then she was upset. She's like, oh, I've got to go and save my son. So she started coming to the lessons just to save me from, joining some church. And anyhow, she started listening. And I remember in the beginning, she was saying things like, I was born a Lutheran and I will die a Lutheran. She had a foreign accent, which I was trying to imitate. But she did eventually also find the teachings to be interesting. And we both, came to believe in the church, the Book of Mormon, the prophet Joseph Smith, and everything. We both joined. I joined in June of 1978, and she joined in July of 1978. I've been a member since that time. I was inactive for a few years, 5 or 6 years when I was younger, but I've been back since about 1986 or 7, and I've been a strong member ever since then. And I'm always pleased that I'm constantly learning and growing in my gospel knowledge and my ability to live the gospel the way I understand it's supposed to be lived, trying to be Christ-like, which has become a very important thing to me. And I don't know what people see when they look at me regarding any kind of Christ-likeness, but I hope there's some semblance there. And I always hope that people get a good example from watching me or seeing me. And I hope they don't just see any of my bad examples. It'll probably take me some time to make this video, to learn how to do this and put it on YouTube. And so there'll probably be a lot of editing here.